Hello, everyone. Welcome to Esoteric Ebb Day 9, I believe, of Esoteric Ebb, if I remember what number it was last time. But either way, we're heading on back to the esoteric coast. Last time we had a chat with a lovely little urchin lad. We had a little bit of a heart-to-heart to him with his dead dad and our dead dad who was killed by a troll. We stuck our hand inside a fire. We got yoked by the griffin again. It was a productive day, all told. But now, with our hand seared and our body exhausted... Where's my hair doing this? And our body exhausted, we need to take a rest. Snell has already gone to rest. We are hoping we're not waylaid by strange gnomes again on the way home. So, God, my hair sucks today. Anyway, here he is. Hi, bud. Can you be good today? Can we do that? Anyway, let's head on over to the game, okay? I checked the session notes are still the same. I think we haven't made any major progress when it comes to the main story quest all told. But yeah, so now we are making our way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and we're homebound. Yeah, okay. Don't hit your head against my microphone. If you want to talk to the audience, you can talk to the audience. Sir, you have things to say. I don't know if this is picking up, but he keeps bashing his head against my microphone. Oh, buddy, you are getting blessed by Annie Danny. Yeah, hi. Uh-huh. You know the deal. You gonna reach your little crime hands up? Oh, the full climb! He's clinging like a koala. You little freak. No, that's it. Fucking goober. He was clinging to the side of it, grabbing them with his mouth. You ape. There's nothing else up there. You got it. Oh, right. This is the tavern. No. We have 2 health and 1 exhaustion. One day I'll understand the map of this city. Today is not that day. I do love that he has decided to reach up and grab them instead of just going up there. Is that weirdo back on the roof? No. Here we go. I wonder if Etir is still hanging out in here. Nope. Just us. Did we look at these? I don't think we did. A pile of ledgers covered in official city seals. You look over a thick pile of documents, each adorned with the symbol of a fish. Do you see the size of this pile? It'd take hours to go through it all. Top secret documents, archived by city clerics over many years. You have the right to look over it. Flip through and skim. The documents are not very organized. However, as your eyes glance over titles, reports, and statements made over decades, you do find a few that catch your attention. Sweeping your gaze over the pile, you immediately stop at a bill of sale. A sale by the city to the Ascani Reeds Trading Company. Looking for an official palace seal, you find a note with the sentence, "Sage leaf must be contained within." The older files. Focus on the oldest. That's where you'll find interesting perspectives. There's just so much to take in. You have to start somewhere. However, be careful. Each attempt to analyze a document will take time out of your day. Yeah, let's start with the one about Sage Leaf. It's a letter. It doesn't make any sense apart from mentioning something about Lady Miscus Sageleaf. You spend an hour looking over the cryptic note to figure it out. It's written in official palace legalese. You don't understand much, except the fact that the letter appears to contain some kind of instructions for the local Earthguard to allow Sageleaf to take over control of many of the facilities in Tolstad. It's dated for about 20 years ago. But it also clearly warns the Earthguard of not letting Sageleaf out of this area of confinement. Her people are not allowed to work in the other parts of the city. It's as if they gave her a part of Tolstad as a prison. You're not sure how this will help, but it does feel like it could be helpful when dealing with the goblins in the future. Not sure if I was supposed to know this information, but I do now. Return the letter. The city is hiding something about this goblin chieftain, that is for sure. I'm gonna check. You know what? This will be the last one we do before we sleep. I'm gonna check the massively complicated bill of sale. I feel like that's gonna have something that might be useful, especially since we've been talking to Vera lately. There's thousands of receipts and numbers. You're not going to get through this in a decent amount of time. It'll take you hours. You spend 3 fucking hours checking the numbers, both to understand them and to see if there's anything useful. Eventually, you come to an understanding. These are part of an old investigation into the Ascani Reeds Trading Company when they first established themselves decades ago. They're looking into crooks. Good. And how the Earthguard were tasked in keeping them in check. Until... Yeah. A lot of these receipts are faked. You can tell by the terrible copy-paste job they've done on some of the dates and specifications. They're not even attempting to hide it. I smell bribes. Probably to hide some dirty goods or move dirty coins into taxable capital. What's interesting is that the Earthguard clearly didn't have the resources to keep up. Wouldn't be surprising if the defunding of the Earthguard on Tolstad was directly connected to this one investigation. Could be useful info. Maybe talk your way into the pockets of the Freestriders. That's very good information, even if it's a bit of a stretch. Put the documents back. If the Freestriders are as corrupt as they seem, this could be exactly what you need to gain an advantage. I'm done here, for now. Now we rest. Before you lies a bedroll. I like the rest music, too. You lay down on your bedroll, finding sleep difficult. As you stir, you think about your quest, the star witness, the man in yellow. Frank, son of Frank. Might just be a dead end, though you've got a distinct feeling that he's lurking somewhere below. So many loose threads. But don't worry. You've got time. You'll still need to locate the tea shop owner. It's time to delve deeper, past the below. Among its many secrets, some path has to go deeper. The king in yellow? Before you know 8 hours have passed, you successfully complete your long rest. Day 3. Another day full of trouble. The end is near. It is time you open your heart. The people of Tolstad cry out for you. You really gotta finish this today, or else people are gonna talk. I'm already on day 3? Feel stressed. Time moves fast when you're running around like a headless chicken. The election looms. I have so much stuff to do today. Hells yeah, brother. Time to get to work. Start your day. Atir, do you have anything new to say? Cleric. She is working on detailed notes, her halo spinning slowly around her head. Have a good day, Atir. Actually, no, let's try to get to know her better. It is time. Become the man you were meant to be. Speak with the angel about religion. Get to know her better by discussing religion. Come on, dude! No! There's no way you're talking to this woman. She is treating you with disrespect, bad attitude, and rudeness. And it is getting to you, burning holes in your manhood. Holes? Yes, holes! This is ridiculous. Just because she's an angel doesn't mean she can ignore your questions. You need to be firm. Show her that you're a man. What? A man? A man, she repeats. You said that out loud? What? You are speaking. Stop fumbling this opportunity. Show her! Show her why she can trust you as a man! About Earth. Begin shaking. What about him? Tell me about him. I need to know more. Please. Please tell me. No, cleric. She goes quiet for a bit, studying you. I am busy. Maybe later I can speak in detail. You can feel her pity you. It hurts. Your innards quiver at her words. She has power. Yeah, sure, that sounds good. She nods. Have a good day, Atir. Yeah, Bridge, you're absolutely right. Atir has every right to fucking ignore us. It's raining. Go pick up Snell. Everyone is out of the Cleric's League, Schmouderkick. The Cleric... I would argue that the Cleric can't really even be considered in a league with how little game he has. Someone knocked over the trash can. A dream patch. What? Is this a used Band-Aid? Small amounts of pixie essence can be incorporated into a sticky patch. Can be used to recover 3rd-level spell slots. Oh, that seems handy. The cleric is so socially inept, it's concerning. I'm not going to lick it yet. I don't even have 3rd level spell slots. Oh, fuck. It's that dude I hit in the face. After rubbing a glass into his face repeatedly. I didn't learn anything new. Yeah, let's get Snell before we do anything. Morning, cleric. The goblin rubs his eyes. You ready to head out? I usually head out about this time, so yeah, I'm ready. Snell has joined your party. Consume the trash band-aid to gain a new level spell slot. I don't think I even could use it. Oh, no, I can't. Annie Danny, this useless gesture is for you. Oh, he just won't. Okay, never mind. Okay, that goes down. All right. There's no bit I won't commit to. All right. Let's... I'm going to do another pass over the riverfront. I'm still trying to track down that fucking Birdman. Because they said he was down by the water lane. Most likely. So I think he's got to be around here somewhere. There's a few places we haven't checked. The Reed and Mead doesn't open till sundown. That's the Bridge Trading Company. Historically, spells up to 9th level can be cast by mortal hands. Oh yeah, can I get somebody else's hands? Oh. Children's drawings on the wall. A scholarly commendation of the Fort Nip Commonwealth. Almost dead, but not yet. Scholar Snur Appledent. He's a halfling. That's all I can tell. Something's stuck between the pages. Another Band-Aid. And 2 donuts. Yeah, I'll take your shit, dude. You see a collection of books from the philosophy canon, none of which you are really able to understand. Oh, yeah, that's right. He might be hiding in export peril. I think we thought, we need to get access to the, Free Strider warehouse, which we were working with Vera for. Next to them, a line of famous political books. Asgalist Theory, Hedonists, The Dark Book of Shadow, Lexandro, many more. Open The Folk by Lexandro. Lexandro. This was the first book placed into your hands as an Earthfolk recruit. Open it. Look inside. It's an old, worn copy of that same text. Musings about the divine era, of great walking gods and their theocratic states. A history lesson morphing into a series of guidelines, how modern leaders, as a response to the drawn-out Coast War, should return to the old. The proven, the organized, the divine. Although written from the perspective of not faith nor service to the holy, but rather that of service to the state. A modern theocratic vision, the nation as an entity not bound by the protection and lifetime of its god. Instead, the nation-state will survive on unifying cultural traits passed down from that god to his people. This, Lexandra writes, will fasten them into the earth, creating firm groundings for the states to exist beyond any others. The later chapters go on to describe his dream of a millennium empire, his grand plan, a nation to survive the passing of eras. Millennium Empire. Lexandro's dream of an empire to last throughout the eras. He knew well how the Arcanists, despite their greatness, could not last past their prime, nor could even the old monarchies of the Divine Era. Even the beasts of yore did not stand the test of time. It is the fascists who will create lasting order. Only them. Beasts of yore. A term for the sentient folk who aligned with yore during the Gate Era, also known as the Anticipalian folk. Most are gone today. A collection of ideas he gathers in this dream, an ideology structured around order without the weakness of monarchy, the chaos of democracy, or the esoteric dependence of the magocracy. The Millennium Empire. The fascist ideal. Dangerous ideas. Fascism has led many cities astray in Reeds. Whatever your thoughts are, this book is used to reshape the city. You know well how effective it is. Put the book away. Open A Blind Manifesto by the Hedonists. The book. The book. Always listen to your hungry stomach, it says with big, ugly letters on the front page. You should listen to the book and the stomach. This wonderful manual. Same as always, the book begins with a tirade about property ownership. Then, on the 5th page, you find a diagram showing how to ritualistically summon a demon. It's incorrect, however, on purpose supposedly. The rest is a series of extreme essays on the topics of hedonism, rejection of statehood, free association, maximizing sensation, direct democracy, and reciprocal exchange. It paints up an image of an ideal world where all can live without strife simply through the cooperation and love of all things. This book sounds like it was written by Victor Hugo. Yeah? It's also, it feels very Epicurean as well. This it is, the thing that makes you feel good. The text of truth. Look at the chapter on free love. You flip to pages 52. You remember it well. It has pictures. Full boobies, full boners. The whole 9 yards. Tiny scribblings, something akin to stick figures, positioned in various enwrapped unities. You remember the words well, the guide on how to make ultimate sensations of flesh. Remember it well. You will need it one day. I've been rewatching fucking clips of What We Do in the Shadows and Laszlo. You want to finish your final human orgasm. Open Memoirs of a Statesman by Nicholas Darrow. Oh, God. No. My hair is not behaving today. If the cleric has ears under that bucket, I bet they're red. Oh, 100%. The first few pages are devoted to a rambling text about the history of governing, from ancient texts from various beasts of yore, to gods of the divine era, to several Arcanist figures. Darrow then smoothly moves on to conflate their accomplishments with his own, especially since he also includes an explanation of his lineage, that he is that he is a direct firstborn grandson of Borgo Darrow, the first paladin of Earth. It is not so subtle. The many, many pages go on to describe both practical but mostly theoretical methods a statesman should use when dealing with the populace, the bureaucracy, and the ideologies of modern life. Generally, the book has a rather rough tone about democracy. A quote you've heard before from this book pops up towards the end. Those who believe in democracy have a wonderful view of folk, to think them capable of making rational and informed decisions devoid of personal bias and emotional conduct. From what you remember, it caused quite the stir when it came out 2 years ago. You recall a rumor about Shield Lord Yarn having hated this book so much during its printing that he personally bought 200 copies only to burn them in his garden. It's probably not true. Probably. Open The Dark Book of Shadow by the Shadow Lord. You pick up the black-covered tome. A faint tingle goes through your gloved hand. That's the most evil book I have ever seen. Scoop, welcome in. Hello. We found an evil book. How'd they even get the cover to be that black? It's like a void. A memory lingers in this tome. If you open it, you shall recall. Yeah, I'm gonna read the book, of course. Open it, despite its evil nature. The text is not dangerous. The pages show but a holy scripture of the Shadow Lord's lost religion, one of eternal servitude and the search for life in death. However, you remember it well. This was the first book you were ordered to study as punishment for your idiotic behaviors at the towers. You remember your first journey towards the esoteric. Bridge, I feel like Myth and I have gone on record saying we would read the evil book in a fucking heartbeat. And I stand by it. I'd read the evil tome immediately. Oh my god, we did it! We made an intelligence check. How liberating it was to know beyond any doubt how much greatness hid within your mind. You, Myth, and me, yeah. Hell yeah, welcome to the club of getting your brain destroyed by evil books. To know beyond a doubt how much greatness hid within your mind. Blurred faces, hushed whispers, a crowd of thoughtful peers, each snickering about your hand. A raised hand among a crowd of sheep. Patriarch, it's not just a religious text. They stare at you. It's a spellbook. Those were the words. Oh, how they laughed. He asked you to prove yourself. So you did. I went up to the Patriarch. I took the Book of Shadow. Yes. Then memorized Detect Alignment. You memorized it on the spot. Then you cast that ancient spell, once used by the Death Knights of the Shadow Lord to subjugate and control the minds of his people. A spell that is, despite its first level, not learned by most clerics until they grasp the intricacies of higher tier casting. Death Knight, a term for warriors of necromancy. Many were created and fought during the Coast War, but most legendary were the Death Knights of the Shadow Lord during the Divine Era. Wonder if Duck is a Death Knight. Everyone was left stunned by your excellence. They should have clapped. To not only master such a spell, but to do it in seconds instead of days. That moment, it was yours. From that moment, you marked your place at the towers as the greatest spellcaster, the greatest talent among them all. However, as always, the weak fear the strong.
That moment also began your ostracization. You would never be among them, never have peers. None would see you in any way as a brother or comrade. I would be an obstacle. You are, and you shall continue to be. Your vision is blurry. It is filled by the pages of that book.
Hey, we learned detect alignment. Neat. All right.
A magical quill and paper.
Tiny dictator. Advantage against bureaucrats.
You take a step into the cramped office, standing in front of a sleeping halfling.
Isn't that a gnome?
What's the difference?
Aesthetics only. They assure you that there is a distinct biological and esoteric difference, but you know it's all hogwash. They're short, they're stout, they're the same.
Good forenoon, citizen! Whoa! He mutters and widens his bushy eyes. His confused gaze focuses on you.
My pain?
What?
Terrible, terrible pain. Oh.
He mutters and rubs his face.
The wrinkles fold over one another like waves on a storied sea.
My...
He looks at you with his weary expression and then rubs his nose and sniffs twice.
Are you here for the invoice?
A quick glance to Snell.
His words come out in a typical Fordnip accent. What?
The invoice!
Lean over to Snell. Should I have an invoice?
No.
No?
No?
Oh, hold on. I've already paid that invoice. You're here for something different.
He leans in, facing Snell.
I hope Queen Goblin has no quarrel with this old scholar.
He holds up a palm.
Nah, we're here on city business.
Yes, I've got some questions. No, I'm exploring random buildings and yours was unlocked.
That's not...
So you are a trespasser of benevolent intent.
I guess that's not too far off.
Curiosity is absolutely vital for keeping the old brain in motion. So I commend you, cleric. And you as well, my goblin friend.
He looks around, grunting.
Can I get either of you some fucking water, or...
He wields swear words like coastal winds.
No, thank you, your companion replies very quickly.
You're Scholar Appledent, right?
Me? Yes. I'm Snore Appledent,
he says and bows his head in the chair.
Scholar of Fordnip University, in dedicated service to the process of AIS.
AIS?
Alignment Intent Studies. Primarily, my expertise lands on the topic of alignment and its many historical and contemporary applications. Some bullshit, I will tell you. These days, I mostly deal with other forms of study. Specifically, I run this office here on the experimental technique of psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis.
What kind of magic is that?
No magic at all. Although there has been some detect thoughts involved at some points in the development. It is a form of mind healing, as they call it. I'll be the one to call it support instead. It is essentially the idea that the mental present is shaped by the mental past, and that through dialogue, our unreleased and unconscious ghosts can be vanquished.
An exorcism?
Almost. Well, the ghosts are metaphorical, it is really not that different from the expulsion of a necrotic possession. A Region friend of mine once told me this joke, and I apologize if it's too vulgar for your tastes.
He sputters out the words through little chortles. Listen to the vulgar joke.
Right. A cleric, an arcanist, and a rogue delve into the lair of succubus. The fiend defeats all three men, throwing them in her dungeons. But she grows to fancy them, so she offers them a choice. For each man who can successfully satisfy her, she will let that man go. Otherwise,
he speaks with little fits of laughter in between,
she ends them, so to say. This is going to be a long tale.
You actually haven't heard this one.
If it is sacrilegious, you'll have to beat the gnome.
Not a long. What a rambunctious tale. Do go on.
So, the three adventurers debate in which order to go. Eventually, the rogue and the arcanist decide that the cleric should go first, as he is a virgin, and will be least likely to increase her standards.
Your goblin companion rubs his eyes as he listens to the joke.
The cleric, being divine and so on, prays to his god and goes to the fiend's bedchamber. He comes out 10 minutes later, completely unharmed, and gives a thumbs up to his two friends, who of course feel a great sense of relief. The arcanist goes in next, confident and arrogant. If the cleric could do it, the fiend must be easy. Within minutes, his bones roll out of the bedchamber, the man having been incinerated by hellish flames. The rogue is horrified, but realizes, obviously, the arcanist overestimated his abilities. So, he carefully enters the bedchamber, ready to put every ounce of effort into it. Less than a minute later, screams erupt from the bedchamber, and the rogue's lifeless corpse falls out of the entrance. The cleric prays for the souls of his comrades and gathers their remains for burial. The succubus steps out smoking a cigarette. She tells the cleric, "My, your friends were truly terrible. They were just fumbling about down there. At least you managed to touch it a little." To which the cleric responds, "You are truly an awful creature, and I will pray for your presence to be exorcised from this plane of existence every day until the day I die." Then, before he walks away, the cleric also adds, "Oh, but I did heal that horrible wound you had between your legs. Hopefully that makes you feel less evil in the future."
The goblin lets out a slight gust of wind through his nose. I get it! The halfling chortles loudly. Yeah. There's no shot that the cleric is not just like,
My kind of humor, you might say. In short, you can view the succubus as an evil in the world, which religious fervor would pray to repair. However, no reparation could often lead to a not-so-optimal path.
He keeps on laughing. Spell no more pussy. We have to get out of here. Your vagina is haunted.
Or, more simply, you could say it's a basic allegory for alignment itself. The cleric meant well for all intents, but his actions cost the lives of both of his comrades. Is that evil, or is it good? And so on. Either way, that psychoanalysis, yes, that's what we were talking about. It's about your feelings, thoughts, memories, choices you've made, things that have happened to you. They can bog you down, so to say, and the goal in my clinical practice is to root out in my patients' mind is to root that out in my patients' minds and help make them aware of repressed negative baggage, if you will. So one can move forward more speedily.
Sounds like removing a curse of the mind.
In a metaphorical sense, yes. But it's not the only thing that I work on here. I am currently exploring the dream of anima animus.
A dream of a man and a woman. What a pervert. You like this guy.
Sounds interesting.
It is. Beyond that, I also focus a lot on my own unverified theories.
He slaps his knees and grins.
The folk spirit. Have you heard of it?
No, I have not.
Understandable, it's not yet published. The folk spirit is the working title for my new thesis. Most of it, if you'll excuse my anuran, fucking bullshit. But in short, it is about how each folk share a number of core communal archetypes or myths. I traveled around the coast to collect as many tales, writing down thousands of stories previously only passed down orally. All to see how well my theory holds up in the mind of so many folk.
He clears his throat and leans back into his chair.
Apologies, I am ranting here. Let us put a stop to it. What do you want, cleric?
This dude is fucking crazy. Are you bringing, like, Jungian archetypes to the esoteric coast, my guy?
Can you give me some mind healing?
Of course. I am, however, a bit swamped in work right now, so I will get you a booked slot. I have time after the election. You could come visit me then.
I will probably forget, if I'm being honest.
Freudian, maybe. That would explain why he's such a huge pervert, too. If he's supposed to be very Freudian. I should have given him a German accent instead of this weird, fucking boisterous British one.
I will probably forget, if I'm being honest.
He laughs.
That is fair. I am forgettable. Truth be told, I am very overworked. I'm struggling with a certain topic.
He makes a noise that might have once been a cough.
The old man is frustrated. He's trying to avoid even thinking about it.
What?
I'm focusing on a specific idea of civics. The idea that two opposite faces of your ego, masculine and feminine. But I simply can't get... But I just can't seem to get past a certain hurdle, obstacle.
Is he going to keep talking, no matter what I do?
Oh, yes. You have no control here.
You see, there is a work called Book of the Mind. It is, in my opinion, civics' masterpiece in the figurative sense.
Oh! Is it like a secret book, hidden in some dungeon?
Oh, no, I own several copies. There is a rare edition of this book which contains a rumored so-called final foreword from Civics himself. In this foreword, he apparently reveals the revelation about his categorization of the psyche, specifically on the topic of gender. Might be nothing, but it would be highly interesting to get my grubby hands on it.
He leans in and whispers,
And more importantly, it would bring me great pleasure to know how much Civics would be spinning in whatever Thazanian mass grave he's buried in, if he knew a halfling like myself was pioneering in his footsteps. Ho-ho!
He wasn't a fan.
Like most humans of his era, he was very, let's say, humanity first.
Snore leans back in his chair.
This final 6th edition of the book, it was only printed in 10 copies. The publisher then hiked up the price in order to sell it to collectors. Those collectors have then spent the last 3 decades using these copies as a form of investment, making sure to keep that content of the forward a tightly guarded secret.
Smart way of making money. How terrible. A scholar's word should be freely available.
Nothing is ever free, even if it is free.
So, what? You want me to find this rare book? He nods.
I drank a bit too much the other night, and in my desperation, I paid a diviner to cast Locate Object for me. I didn't expect anything, and it was very expensive. However, she actually found it. A copy of the 6th edition Book of the Mind is here, very close to Waterlane View. And she even told me the exact direction.
He points down to the floor.
About 40 meters, straight down.
So it's in the meters?
Right. That is to say, something like 100 feet. 150, maybe. Sorry, the diviner was a freestrider. You know how they're like in Reed, silly decimal people.
It's in the city below.
Yes, exactly.
And you trust this diviner?
Well, trust might be a bit of a strong word. But she was connected to the freestriders, and well, they are ruthless capitalists. They would not keep a scam artist around. Of course, if they did, it would be very funny, of course.
What is the name of this diviner?
Lisa, I believe.
He sniffs.
She used to have a hut on top of the Freestrider building. It wandered away, I think.
Wandered? He makes little walking motions with his fingers.
Skadoodled, as they say.
That's very strange.
She seemed kind. I hope she stops working for those fucking parasites.
This sounds like a quest.
Sure, why not?
So many side quests, Snell mutters to himself.
Doodled, as they say. Delve into the dangerous tunnels below and get me that book. Don't get yourself killed. And in exchange, I will, Well, what the fuck kind of reward do you want?
I want you to heal my broken mind.
Impossible. No one can fix another's mind. I can promise support, but no guarantee. Choose something else.
You swear a lot.
Yes, fuck you. Life is pain. Get over it.
I don't know. You have a magic item or something? He shrugs.
I have books in droves. You know what?
He says and snaps his fingers.
The book itself. It's expensive and probably magical in some sense. Give me the book. Let me take a look at the forward, and you keep the book afterwards. That is still a quest, right?
Help my Baba Yaga hut skadoodled away. I fucking love this guy.
Get me the book, let me take a look at the forward, and you keep the book afterwards. That's still quest, right?
But I don't have to even return to you in that case. I can just take the book and go.
True.
He sighs.
I suppose I can offer some guidance in understanding the book as well, if you let me make a copy of that forward real quick.
Huzzah! He sniffs. Oh yeah, he is very a friend of ours named Pete coded.
Yes, fuck you. I am not an expert, but what kind of weird... I am not an expert in what kind of weird shit is down there, but the city below is dangerous, so don't wander blindly. Good luck, cleric.
He's so boisterous. I want to inquire about this folk spirit.
Imagine, if you will, the origin of our stories.
All stories?
Yes, all of them. As sentient folk, we clearly have the base ability to come up with random ideas and turn them into emotionally resonant tales. Tales that explore the condition of life itself and make us feel many things. But an interesting thing happens if one were to study the core parts of these stories. that even if we look at stories crafted in entirely different bands, separate, isolated tribes, or even in worlds outside your itself, there's overlap.
Should I just let him speak? Just repeat the last thing he said. That'll make you sound smart.
Overlap. Indeed. Humans who live in the remote mountains of Im have the same repeated tropes in their foundational myths as humans in reeds. Same for halflings. The Stormbloods of Carchemish have the same variations as my people in Fordnip, despite being separated in esoteric evolution by at least 10 millennia. It's as if every folk is haunted by spirit, like an unconscious collective dream of concepts and ideas that follow us. Even when those separate folk originate from entirely different worlds. Could you imagine? Two folk arrive through two separate gates of yore. They are alien to one another, culturally, spiritually, biologically. Yet they share the same core myths. That is what I am studying.
Don't let him rant anymore.
That is very interesting.
Isn't it? Most importantly, it's provable.
What happens when two folk spirits merge?
Ah, yes.
He lifts a finger.
No clue. It's harder to even pinpoint due to the nature of merging cultures. In cases like humans and dwarves here in Norvik, there's more data, but not enough to say anything of note. But it seems to me like the folk spirit remains pure, in a sense, in one direction or the other. For example, humans can obviously reproduce with dwarves, but the offspring is always, aesthetically and biologically speaking, very human, which does not make sense biologically. We are, scientifically speaking, different species. Dogs do not breed with cats, do they? The same effect can be seen in most functional folk mixed breeding. Logically, it should not be. Evolutionary adaptation dictates the creation of a mixture, not a one-sided creature. So it is theorized to be some type of powerful, esoteric effect that allows this reproduction to take place. In the scholarly community, we call it the Oso effect, one-sided offspring.
He's Freud looking to slide into his young face. Evict him. God. Get rid of him. You know a lot about this topic, huh?
Once again, I'm afraid this is all coming from experiments performed by arcanists. Horrifically so.
So one side is always dominant, huh?
Not biologically speaking, but esoterically, yes, objectively so. There's a list of this hierarchy in some textbooks, but it's a pretty taboo topic, as you might imagine.
Doesn't that just mean that the dwarves would eventually stop existing in Norvik and just become human?
That is a good question. If two people live alongside one another for a long enough time, and they reproduce with one another equally, but the offspring are all aesthetically human, then yes. Eventually, there would be only one people, and it would be a people who look human. However, there is a big factor in change here, and that is the elusive and enticing topic of mating preference. There is not much proven data I can point to, but if you allow me to speculate, then I would say only a minority of the population of any tribe will ever have strict preference for mating outside of that tribe. Without a basic assumption like that, I do not believe that the tribe itself would remain intact enough for civilization to emerge. So in the case of dwarves in Norvik, I do not believe the two tribes can ever truly merge. Cooperate, yes. Cohabitate, of course. Even mingle and date and crossbreed? Absolutely. Why not? But merge? No. Impossible. Of course, this assumption ignores the Oso effect, so it feels a bit crackpotty. Take that as you wish.
And you think the folk spirit follows the one-sided offspring?
Maybe. I have not done enough work to say anything for sure. Nor have I been peer-reviewed. Nor am I a very sane or stable individual.
He grins. How is it provable?
Reproducibly. Reproducibility. Analysis. Cultures and folk who had no contact with one another, even originating from different worlds, have the same core myths. Narrative traits, archetypes, repeated tropes. It's the same method used when uncovering dead languages.
Thank God he hasn't been peer-reviewed. Yeah, this dude belongs in no scientific journals.
Using common denominators to narrow down similarities and differences.
He adjusts his mustache.
Now, there hasn't been that much reproducibility yet from my peers. I'm still working on getting other scholars in on this topic.
Is there a folk spirit that's better than the others?
Better means nothing. There's so much weight put on making one greater in some perspective than others, and it's just a ridiculous game of dick swinging. Of course, I also hate this horrid idea that every culture is amazing and wonderful and, everyone holding hands and dancing together. No! Every culture is equally terrible. But they are all specialized. These symbols we produce are clothed in meaning based on lived experience.
He's been peer-reviewed and desk-rejected hundreds of times. Oh, for sure. I only know that through my vague relation to you and your experiences. Fuck.
A human living in the frozen tundra will derive and require much different practical uses of these core myths than a man living in the harsh deserts. Yet, each folk type has its own fundamental traits that these symbols represent. You talk a lot. I know. Just tell me to shut up when you get tired.
I think I understand now. The goblin crosses his arms, ready to hear your comment. The halfling scholar leans back in his armchair. I think your theory needs a lot of work. He nods to you.
That it does.
He sniffs.
Thank you for listening to my rant, cleric. You as well, my goblin friend.
You're welcome? Can we manipulate him into trying to pet the griffin? That's a good idea. You're an expert in alignment, huh?
Somewhat. I wrote my masterpiece on the subject. That should account for somewhat of an understanding on the subject, but not enough. Never enough.
He sniffs. Can you change your alignment?
Of course. Any creature capable of leaning in the axis. Any creature is capable of leaning in the axis, depending on their day-to-day action.
Oh, just like that?
It's not easy, if that's what you're thinking. Look, like all things, it's messy. Let's say you're lawful evil.
I'm not.
Sure, but for the sake of argument, let's hypothetically assume that you are.
But I'm not.
A moment of silence from the halfling scholar seems to indicate that he is contemplating just how idiotic his attempt at creating this strange lie about you being lawful evil truly is.
Let us pretend you are. You find that being labeled as evil is bad for your business, or your work prospects, as one might. So you choose to donate a large sum of money to a charity that will inevitably help thousands. You might even save some lives with those spent coins.
But you said I was evil.
Yes, but you are trying not to be. In this case, you've performed an act of objectively good, selfless action for evil, selfish reasons. So what happens next?
He points at you.
Nothing.
Nothing? But I did a good thing.
You remain lawful evil. But let's change the parameters. Say you're Bill Gates. You do some truly heinous monopolistic capitalist enterprises. But then in order to rehabilitate your image, you create a foundation that does moderate amounts of good in the world. Let's forget all those connections to Epstein for a moment. Let's change the parameters. Instead, you are a lawful evil man who genuinely wishes to repent, to pay for the many evil things you've done in your life before. If this man performs a selfless action with the intention of selflessness, then all of a sudden, it will begin a shift in his alignment.
Intention is all that matters.
Yes. This effect has obviously been studied for centuries. It's aptly named Alignment Intent Studies. I personally received my scholarship through studying delusional intent. We gathered a large amount of very mentally unwell people, mostly from local prisons and post-war reads, who truly believed in a very different worldview than most others. For example, this one man was certain that he had to kill his fellow man or the world would end, one murder a week. An extreme delusion. However, any detection spell showed him to be neutral good, and he felt terrible about all the murders that he had committed. He was not selfish. In fact, he was more selfless than most, willing to perform acts that horrified him in order to save us all. The objective outcome of his actions mattered not, no more than the outcomes of the actions of a person under a charm spell.
What if you're not smart enough to understand your actions?
That is exactly what we call the sentience line. It's not exact. Animals, for example, are true neutral by default. Any that is not a pure beast, but rather affected by esoteric forces on some level. That's the theory, anyway. But imagine a man who loses enough of his mental faculties to be considered a beast, no longer living in a world of good or evil. Let us say he was chaotic good beforehand. What happens to his alignment? Does he suddenly turn true neutral? Is he stuck at chaotic good? Or does he somehow slide towards true neutral? Because that's another thing. There is no known way to perform a neutral action. All actions are either some level of selfish, selfless, lawful, or chaotic. On a wide spectrum. But you can never just move towards the center. It's just not allowed.
All right. OBS is yelling at me. It's ad time, y'all. We'll get back to this weird breakdown of alignment in 3 minutes. Grab a drink, use the restroom, do what you gotta do, while I give my throat a merciful 3-minute rest. See you all in a couple of moments. All right. I too am going to go AFK briefly. See you all in a couple of moments. I'm back. Hello. Yeah, this dude is such a little freak. He's horrible. He's a fucking, like, eugenicist, but also has, like, weird philosophy shit. He's such a little freak. I do think we need to evict him. I wonder who he's voting for in the election. I feel like he's a magocracy guy, the Arcanists. He strikes me as an Arcanist fellow. So he and I both support probably worthless parties. Okay. The little kids who live next door to my parents are going ham. Oh, those little, the little, like, snappers that you throw on the ground. Yes. I remember liking those a lot as a kid, to be honest, so... They were fun, they were cheap, and you got a lot of them for not much. So you could get like a box of them and just throw a couple at a time and have a good time making bangs. How do you end up at your alignment to begin with? Are you born with it? I used to throw them at my brother. It's like a tentacle. It's like a tentacle that shows up on screen sometimes.
No. All creatures are born true neutral. And all reported metrics show babies are unable to perform alignment shifts until the age of about 3 to 7, depending on the folk. But interestingly...
Oh, it's pizza time. These are from your mother. Your mother scoop. Yes, hello. Yes, hello. What are mammalian tails if not furred tentacles? You're not wrong. Pegasus, you're not wrong. False. All creatures are born chaotic evil. Babies are chaotic evil. I actually think Vibes is right here. I don't buy into the fact. Yeah, this scholar has never once met an infant. But Bridge, he's saying that evil is tied directly to selfishness. A baby knows nothing but selfishness. It cannot conceive of things other than it. Exactly, Annie Danny. Babies are chaotic evil. That's all I need to know to know that this man's entire fucking body of work should be utterly discredited. That and the completely insane race science that he did earlier.
But interestingly enough, it is shown that most people will only perform 1 or 2 alignment shifts in their entire lifetime.
He scratches his cheek and sniffs a couple of times.
During adolescence. After that, less than 1/10 of folk will ever shift again. That is a fairly substantially verified data as well. So essentially, despite having free will, folk will always lean towards the natural behavior over time.
So we're slaves to our nature. Insane race science is fundamental to fantasy scholarship. I hate how right you are with that, Vibes. That sucks. Every child undergoes a character arc where they're old enough to learn about anything that isn't a baby. That's when they developed object permanence.
You see, when your mother hides behind her hands and then reappears, she's not actually disappearing.
So, we're slaves to our natures.
On broad scales, when looking at data, yes.
Myth, welcome in. We're talking to the insane Freudian race scientist. We hate him, but he's very funny. Oh god, yeah, dude, and I picked the wrong voice for him. I am ruining my throat. It's fine. I'm fine.
On broad scales, when looking at data, yes. But it was Cividix who wrote, "There is no honor in branding a naturally selfless man as good. There is all honor in a selfish monster receiving the same title. Remember that."
I'm really curious if our whole fucking day of streaming is going to be talking to this man, because it's been most of it so far.
What's the difference between alignment and personality?
Not too much correlation on paper. Studies on personality show that there is overlap. Conscientious folk tend to be more lawful.
Just do a goblin voice for every character. Yeah, that's definitely not worse. I do feel sorry for Snell being stuck to the cleric for this adventure, right? Snell doesn't deserve being subjected to this man's lecture. I wish I could let him take a nap on this dude's couch.
Neurotic and open folk tend to be more good to a minor degree. But we're talking about still unverified and very minor correlations.
Wait, does that mean that everything I do is branded as
Good, evil, chaotic, or lawful? Even this? That I'm saying right now?
In some small sense, yes. The very act of speaking, no matter what you say, will always give you very, very small points in any direction. Although, could you imagine trying to keep track of it all? It would be insane. So no person would ever go to such lengths, so no need to keep track of stuff like that. It will only drive you mad.
So you can will yourself into changing your alignment?
In theory, yes.
I've made my decision.
I'm sorry?
Oh no.
I want to be true neutral.
Is continuing to humor this man an evil act? Yes. I think he told me that it is impossible to move and take a neutral action. I have been very contrarian. I want to be true neutral. Enlightened centrism is the pick one of these fascist or communist options or fuck off.
I want to be true neutral.
That's not how it works, cleric. You'd have to be incredibly deluded, and I mean an absolute living in your own world mentally unstable in order to simply decide what your alignment were and actually get an outcome from it.
Oh, I didn't actually pick it up. I left it there because he was asleep and it felt like stealing, and that felt wrong. I'm a cop.
But, I suppose it can't hurt. Good luck being Sorry, what did you say it was again?
It was,
Yes? Lawful good, of course. Give until your bones hit the pavement. Neutral. Good. That is what keeps your innards from cramping at night. To know you are not a burden upon the world.
You're not gonna like it, but the goal is to end up on top, right? Win every conversation? And you're not really moving along the axis of law. So, you're neutral evil. Though, seriously, whatever you do, do not tell that to the halfling.
I trust my gut. Always listen to your stomach. Neutral good.
Right, good. Neutrally, sir.
He nods.
Good luck with that, cleric.
What does good mean?
What a question.
Oh, if you have it equipped, it just floats right behind you at that angle. Yeah, no, I left it there. I thought about picking it up, but it boosted my intelligence, and we can't have that.
What a question. I cannot offer a universal answer. That is impossible, of course. But from the data, there are a few ways of distilling the essence of goodness. Moisture is the essence of goodness. For example, the amount of good you are is directly correlated with the amount of time you spend inside your own mind, worrying about how much pain you've inflicted upon the world. And of course, practically, it also means performing selfless actions. Performative sacrifices done entirely for the purposes of helping others, instant goodness.
What does evil mean?
Most people would say they know it when they see it. But practically, it means selfishness.
Yeah, I forgot that you were a full wizard king. That absolutely makes sense. I will not wear anything that makes me smarter. Brother, I spent all my time in my own mind, and I am definitely not good.
But practically, it means selfishness. For example, a person with a mental pathology that disallows compassion and empathy, making them naturally hold only care for no one but their own self, that is a naturally an evil individual. But at the same time, we are all basically evil, egotistical, disgusting creatures in the end, if push comes to shove, as they say. Since, obviously, all of us have a part that is focused more on our own survival rather than the survival of the foreign. Otherwise, we would not be alive in an evolutionary sense.
What does chaotic mean?
Now, that can be difficult to parse sometimes. We've done many experiments to try to distill the exact meaning of it. It is difficult. Mainly because who decides what is law? Gods? Your local government? Village elder? No, what is chaos and order is universal. A law can be chaotic, as contradictory as it sounds, if its dictation brings chaos into the world. But generally, what we've found is that there are a few common rules that chaos follows. Breaking down structures, whether that is a building or hierarchy of society. Lies. In fact, any action that purposefully goes against a known truth is considered chaotic. And of course, randomization. Rolling any die is an inherently chaotic act, as is any form of gambling. That is actually one of the easier ways to measure chaotic behavior. We used to go to the local gambling parlor. Good times.
What does lawful mean?
Lawful actions can be difficult to perform.
Stealing the segment next.
Who decides law?
I don't recognize your law. Cool. I don't think that worked for sovereign citizens. I'm not sure it's going to work for you, Schmouder.
Lawful actions can be difficult to perform. It's about building. Crafting buildings, for one, or hierarchies of structure. keeping families intact and orderly. Organizations.
All TTRPG players are inherently chaotic. Myth. Yes. Bearded blonde man meme. Yes. Bridge and myth, same hat.
Keeping families intact and orderly. Organizations. As well as following the truth. There have been many tyrannical, lawful governments throughout history that quickly succumb to chaos due to their warping of the truth itself. But then again, if you can convince people to enter another reality, if you will, where lie is true, then all of a sudden, the folks in that reality will be lawful, despite working and living in a lie. It can get very convoluted and fascinating.
Who decides what any of this means?
There are theories. Some say it's the gods. Some say it's Yor himself who controls the parameters in this world of his. Some believe it is simply inscribed into the universe as absolute law.
What do you think?
I do not know. If I had to guess, I would say it is something overlapping between worlds. Mostly because I do not believe Yor, from all I've read, to be smart enough to make up a system as complicated as this on his own.
Does alignment matter?
Oh, not in any real way. It can be a tool, but if you cannot read it properly, seeing a man branded with chaotic evil means nothing. But if you learn, it can be used to understand folk better. You can statistically expect an evil person to act in their own interest, and you can expect a good person to act in the interest of others. A smart man can use this to his advantage, which is also an evil act, I believe. Funny how it goes.
Why isn't it illegal to be evil?
Might as well make it illegal to be sentient. Branding it as evil might be the core problem there. There were arcanists who created alternate naming conventions for alignments, altruism and egotism, for example, but it did not catch on, as they say. But everyone has to be evil sometimes. Imagine your family is starving alongside two other families who are also starving. The other families are smaller folk who only need half as much food. Would you feed your own family, or sacrifice them to feed the other two families? The only correct option. Feed your family, except yourself. Use your own food to feed the children of the other families. Then die honorably.
I don't have a family of my own.
No, it's a thought experiment. Imagine if you do.
Depends. What are the other families like?
They are just as nice and lovely as your own.
And my family is...
very nice and lovely. What would you choose?
I would feed my family except myself. My own food would go to the children of the other families.
That, among all other options, is, I would argue, a purely selfless action indeed. But what exactly is objectively considered in alignment terms in this scenario? Is it selfish to care for your own people before others? Has it more to do with the exact number of people who live or die, suffer or prosper, in a purely utilitarian perspective? Have you heard of the trolley problem? These questions have all been asked before, and have arguably been answered. From what we can see, especially looking at the data collected from horrendously unethical experiments performed by Arcanist scholars, it is just about intention. If a man chooses to focus on his own family, but feels really bad about the other starving families, then he will be more good than another man who does not think of the others suffering at all. The proximity rule states that the emotional distance between yourself and the target determines the level of selfishness. If you sacrifice your life to protect your family, that's more selfish than if you sacrifice your life for a stranger. The latter is more good. So in the end, a genuinely selfless person will always have a much easier time being branded with good than a naturally selfish one.
He scratches his hairy eyebrows simultaneously.
By the gods, I talk too much. Make me stop.
That's all about alignment for now.
Okay, good.
He wipes some sweat off his brow. How does death and resurrection work with all this stuff?
What do you mean exactly?
Can death change your nature? A frown spreads across his face.
Necromancers in old arcane era traditions did much study on the topic. And yes, death and subsequent resurrection can function as a reset for the mind in a way, but arguably no less than any other severe trauma. The data is hard to trust, however, so I will not say it for sure. There is much study to do on the topic, and I am no expert.
Is there a soul?
The fuck do I know? He laughs. Ghosts exist, of course, as do wraiths and other foul undead spirit things. And there is much arcanist data on such things. Like, if a person is resurrected, their ghost ceases to be. That implies that the ghost is the soul, right? But speak with dead does not, in fact... But speak with dead does not. In fact, a ghost is technically able to ask questions to its own corpse. Very surreal. Which implies that the soul also leaves a conscious remnant of itself, which is able to be animated through magic. And if a person is resurrected, even after very long periods of time, they will have no memory of their time as a free soul. Thus, there is evidence that the soul is not so much your personhood. That shit is all up in the brain, from what we can see, but rather just some type of divine spark. Like a power source that wants to be one with the universe, or your god. The Lich is specifically a creature who consumes these so-called souls for their own gain, which is not very common. Destruction of that magical spark is, of course, a horrid crime of metaphysical levels. Since resurrection, rebirth, or unity with one's god is impossible at that point. But then again, back in the day, it used to be common for mortals to sell their souls to various devils or aberrations.
Seems like there absolutely is a soul.
Probably, yes.
Can one spontaneously resurrect themselves?
I have not heard of such a thing, but why not?
Not gonna lie, it would be so cool and messed up to watch a ghost interrogate. Yeah, that would be awesome, dude. It would be really upsetting for everyone. Spectators, the corpse, the ghost. No one's having a good time. I've got some other questions.
Okay.
Why don't you use magic in your mind healing?
It does not work. Not the greatest arcanists could invent a spell capable of fixing mental unwellness.
Probably, but fascinating to watch. Oh yeah, I'd buy a ticket too. It would be upsetting, but like, I love watching. Like, do you know how many A24 horror films I watch? Those are upsetting and I love them.
If you happen to find a cure mind spell, you would make a fucking fortune casting it on rich people around the coast. Although just the thought of such magic gives me a sort of ontological nightmare. What does it mean to have a cured mind? Did your or some outside god at some point decide what constitutes a wound of the mind? In the same way that suffering is used to heal wounds of the physical.
Suffering?
Yes. When you heal a person, magic itself targets the source of pain as a sort of bullseye for reverting any harm. No person, no matter the source or specific biology of the person. But what if one suffers from night terrors caused by some horrors of the past?
Game designer subtly telling players, go to therapy. Magic don't work. Therapy. Not from this guy, though.
Should a mind heal spell remove your ability to have night terrors? Or should it remove their traumatic source from your memory? Or simply lessen your mental ability of neuroticism? Could the latter lead to a society without neurotic people? Would that also dampen other fears? What would you consider to be a good level of negative thoughts? It sends my mind spinning.
No negativity should be allowed. Everyone should just be happy.
I know of arcanists who express similar sentiments.
Then I retract my statement. The halfling leans back in his chair.
No, the mind requires another method. One I and many others are attempting to untangle. We will see if any of us are even remotely successful in this brain bullshit.
What is love?
Love!
He lets out a frustrated groan.
Pure calamity! Deadly and destructive, its nature is just as perverted and foul. Because it is a complete surrender without idealization. To love is to accept without proof or demands or conditions. This complete surrender to another. Ridiculously risky.
This guy's more fucked up than you are. Do you know a lot about love?
Sure I do. My wife would certainly attest to it, despite my horrid nature. And the familial love is close to my heart as well. My 2 boys are my most prized work.
You have a wife and kids?
Yes, but nothing we need to talk about. Private life is private, and so on,
he says with a laugh. So I shouldn't love. He shrugs.
If you can, yes. Of course you should not take such a risky bet.
Charisma just now figuring it out. This dude's fucked. Bridge, I am also shocked to learn this. That's sort of not dissimilar to some of the, at least the ones that I've played, the, Shin Megami Tensei. If you go with the like order and law endings, you end up with just like this hell world where no one has will or anything like that. And like, yeah, it's good, but it's really not. Then he takes a breath, calming himself down for the punchline.
Love is a completely unpredictable and dangerous encounter. And I have yet to meet a sentient folk which is not afflicted by it. And interestingly enough, I see no difference. It is universal. Yuri couple, Yaoi couple. Love is love. Elf love, halfling love, devil love. True love is always irrational. It is finding the perfect inside the imperfect. And falling entirely into it, swallowed by it. Some folk might act out in different ways depending on their communal nature or biological urges. But if you are one of the few who do not need it, good, be happy. If you are not, then good luck, and may the gods bless your soul.
Where did you say I should look for this book you needed? He leans in.
120 feet.
And then points to the floor.
Straight down, in the city below.
Wasn't this dude just saying interracial coupling would end magical society? I don't think he's consistent. I think he's insane. Horrible therapist, good ally, but also horrible ally in the racial sense.
That is where the diviner saw it. How it got there, who knows?
What do you know about the tea shop that exploded?
Oh, horrific.
He gestures wildly towards the rocky wall.
Shit started shaking, as if it was the red rock of Tolstad itself was cracking. For half a second or so.
So you were down here when it happened?
Yes. I think I was asleep, but the sound woke me.
Did you go check it out?
No. Someone told me later what it was like. I have work to do here.
Did you hear anything about it? Rumors? Annie Danny, I do think that that's kind of what he was saying. That was the vibe I got from it as well. Which ain't great.
You hear anything about it? Rumors? You should not believe rumors, cleric. But yes, I did hear some nasty stuff. Some people seem to think the owner did it himself since he's missing. Some others think that the city did it since they printed a clear lie in the Post. I've also heard people say that the Asgalists are responsible since it was their hideout. Or that the Freestriders did it for the same reason, blowing up Asgalist opposition and so on. It's all bullshit, of course. Don't believe rumors.
With a heavy sigh, I have to say, fantasy eugenicist. Yeah. What do you think happened? He shrugs violently. I have other questions. Good. What are you voting in the election?
I'm a filthy Asgalist.
Good choice.
It's an acceptable choice. The green banner is flown in a strange context here in this Republican wet dream of ours. Asgalism is supposed to be about abolishing the entire structure of hierarchy. The history is driven by economic struggles, specifically the clash between classes. Asgard's end goal is a classless, stateless society where everyone is equal. But looking at the Norvikian Asgalists, it's clear to me long ago they let this goal slip past. Look at them. They're shaking hands with the establishment, trying to find a peaceful solution, they say.
You want a violent revolution? He frowns.
Look,
The hairy halfling mutters.
genuine change, true change, needs a truly revolutionary break with the existing order. There is no doubt about that. Incremental reforms, small changes, within the capitalist system will always fail to address its fundamental contradictions and injustices. My time in Reeds made that clear to me. But always be wary of simplistic utopian visions. It is a path covered in corpses that leads to such blind idealism. So I will vote for this social democratic compromise. This handshake with capital. Then I'll go home and piss myself and die, dreaming the next generation will have answers I do not.
I hope the next generation votes for violent revolution. He grumbles.
Do not be so eager to deal out death in judgment. Not because these truly fascist regimes do not warrant death, but because whatever force would be strong enough to dismantle them would be so powerful that we could never trust them to create a perfect realm without oppression. Not even Asgard could do that. And yes, even the revolutionary freestriders are fascists in a deep sense. How do you think they got their start? Through the coin of those who profited in the great suffering of the old Dimenor, in the Coast War, in the grinding the flesh of humanity.
Damn it, I changed the font again. I think that's what he was saying, Scoop. He was just saying that anything that could successfully kill it is terrifying. Because it would be way too strong to be trustworthy. This dude is weirdly, he's incredibly class conscious and incredibly race insane.
Freestriderism is filthy opportunism, not republicanism. They are just arcanists' regimes with a painted mask and slightly less horrific esoterical power in hand. Slightly.
Freestriders are truly terrifying.
Agreed.
With a deep groan, he starts rubbing his hairy face.
Workers unite, and unionization and guild power is all well and good until it gets too loud. Make bit too much noise, and the true powers quickly and efficiently drop this illusionary mask. Sod, the esoteric spell that tricks us into thinking that they care, or that they are in any way Folkarian.
Yeah, he's class aware and racially terrible. Average leftist who has it. Oh no, he's liberal.
This handshake with capital. So what about you, cleric? You're voting Asglist, I presume?
I really want to vote agrarian, but
I understand. They had some lovely policies about eliminating the increase of Ascani sharecropping industries. Too bad they shit themselves, though I'm just happy they turned green instead of red.
He sniffs.
Now, for something else before I start ranting about the suffragette movement.
Your companion glances at you. No, please. I really, really want to know what you think about the suffragettes. The halfling wags a finger at you.
You're a brave man, cleric.
Thanks. Wink. Stop doing that. He can't even see it.
When the first talks of an election began, it was the late arcane era.
I can't wait to see where this goes.
About 30 years ago. In those early days, the suffragettes were mostly dwarven women. They had the backing of a few hardcore universal Asgalist sects that had remained since the Great Project concluded.
Annie Danny, yes. We've spent at least 2 hours talking to this man. Yeah, you can't see it because it's there is a clock underneath my let me see if I can move there's a clock underneath my head. Yeah, it's gonna be day 4 by the time we leave this fucking building. I have to know what this dude thinks about suffragettes.
When the first talks of an election began, it was the late arcane era.
Dun-dun-dun. It's both.
About 30 years ago, in those early days, the suffragettes were mostly dwarven women. They had the backing of a few till the Great Project concluded. But when Earth died and talks of an election grew loud, the dwarven women had a hard time getting through, both because of the less progressive Asgalists and, of course, the traditional cultural practices of the Earth folk.
Where the player can learn about racism from the racist lorry driver? Yeah.
So, the movement didn't kick into gear properly until, of course, human women decided to join.
I like those. He nods.
Statistically probable, yes. Mind you, this was after almost 2 decades of dwarven women pushing for universal suffrage. Within just a few years, with the voice of angry rich human women yelling and writing and protesting, the palace patriarchy gave in. That's the history lesson. But here's the part that I'm fucking furious over.
What?
Those rich human women? Do you know what happened to them?
He waves his hand.
I'll tell you. Many of them are today fascists. Can you imagine? They run an incredible campaign in order to get the right to vote, to break the chains of oppression, piss off the tyrannical men, smash the patriarchy, and so on, all to throw in their lot with the very same traditionalist ideology. An ideology that clearly wants to, well, of course, also just not have any voting going on at all, but specifically not allow women to vote.
That's ridiculous. Why would they do that?
I ask the same. A part of me thinks that it has to do with some type of opportunism. These are women whose time in the spotlight ended once they won the right to vote. Suddenly, their entire platform of activism disappeared overnight. But even still, why nationalists? They realize that the homeland needs protection, surely. Perhaps there is some, if you don't mind my speculating wildly, some type of perverse psychosexual thing here at play. What? No. Nationalism is a pure ideology. There is no sex involved. Or it is simply a question of class. Probably is. Yes, probably. They are mostly a group of rich people, and that would logically supersede their identities as women. If the rich human position in society is threatened, they have more to lose as rich than as women. It is a complex topic, and I don't have fucking time to think about it, even though I want desperately to figure it out. But that is just something I'm fascinated by, you know.
This halfling rants about things he is trying to understand. He's able to capture an audience that way, clearly.
Anyway.
Okay. Not an awful take on the suffragette movement. There's no war but the class war, comrade, I guess. Yeah. You're a halfling, right? Give me your thoughts on the Clanland ordeal.
Ordeal?
He scratches his nose and looks up into the air. You're not interested.
Interested? Of course I'm interested. My homeland is a shell of broken people. The clans and my kin, especially those stuck under occupation across the Golden Line, they are being systematically destroyed, step by step, as the Horde marches into Askani land.
I read about that. The Golden Horde claimed a part of Ascan.
A big chunk, yes. And then they put up their esoteric wall.
He grunts.
The Clanlands deal, this armistice, was seen by many as a practical solution, since only 2 clans were left to be enslaved and integrated as Horde tributaries.
We've seen alt-right dudes. Strength knows what he's saying. They don't fuck. They never fuck. Look at fucking Asmongold. That's all you need to see.
Clanlands, a term for the unified halfling states in western Ascan. The official name is the Fordnip Commonwealth, although many avoid this term so as not to annoy the Golden Horde.
Oh god, it was a pun. God damn it, Annie Tanny. God damn it. He slams his hand into the side of the chair.
It is a band-aid! Celestials view time in centuries, while we see it in decades as best. Thus, they can take one piece at a time, with generational acceptance in between. It is the most clean method of genocide, one of radiant ghosts and insidious toxic love.
What will happen to them?
Tomorrow? Nothing. In a decade? Not much. Fordnip will still stand by the time I die, in 30 or 40 years. But by the end of this new era, my homeland will surely be eradicated. That is my estimation.
Band-Aid really got me. Did you live in the Clanlands?
When the Golden Line was drawn? Yes. It's not that interesting, but I was on the western side when it happened. There wasn't enough food to go around, so I pulled some strings to smuggle myself east. It's a whole story. I can't say much more. My clan, the Appledents, all live in Tipberry, so it's not some big personal tragedy on my part. It's more of a folkish destruction, a grander trauma, something generational, even if I was there to witness it. I imagine you would feel something similar about the Coast War.
That's actually extremely interesting. You could write a book on that.
I have. Can't get it published, though. No one wants to deal with legal threats from the Horde.
Fascinating. Even in Norvik.
Even in Norvik.
Isn't there resistance in Fordnip?
Of course. It's a whole damn mess.
That read was great. Thank you, Scoop. I appreciate it.
It's a whole damn mess. Ignoring the actual guerrilla resistance west of the line, there has been a massive rally around anti-celestial sentiment in the east. They have attempted sanctions with Norvik, VK, and even Ilium backing.
VK, dwarven slang for Vizka, as if it needed to be shortened.
There's even been a coast-spanning outreach all the way to Kargamesh to build some type of coast-spanning halfling coalition. Nothing works. The Horde has a finger in most every trade port. They own land and hold strong ties to every regime. Even Norvik has not officially backed their neighbors. Without Earth and with Lady Fair not so existing, they are, as the kids say it, steamed.
Vonky Kong.
As you can imagine, the halfling population of the hills are not too happy about this, but what can they do? An Asgal victory might change things, but the Freestriders are in the celestial pockets, as are the Patriarchs. So, yes, there is resistance, but as of yet there is no practical way out of this frog being boiled, I'm afraid.
Why do they want the clanlands so badly? He waves his hand.
It's a basic resource conflict.
Oh?
Amber, you know. Electrum.
Amber.
The Commonwealth is the only reliable source of amber for the many, many esoteric use cases. Spell storing, item crafting, consecration, esoteric attunement. It is an extremely useful material, a powerful one. So it is really no wonder that the Horde wants to expand their golden line. If Norvik was more reliant on amber as a resource, I'm sure they too would covet those hills. But trading with halflings does not seem so different from trading with the Horde. At least not today.
Are the Celestials influential in Norvik?
Yes. They have a lot of soft power, in trade mostly. The Horde ambassador is known to fling their contracts around like a devil in disguise, mostly to stop halfling-owned corporations from operating without major hassle. Any halfling would tell you the same. They luckily don't care for tiny clinics like my own, but... He sniffs. They will not stop in the material realm. They must go into the psychic as well.
What?
The Golden Horde. Their annexation of land.
Gotta run for dinner. Great stream. Thank you, Scoop. It was talking to one guy. But have a good dinner. Thank you for dropping by all the same.
The Golden Horde. Their annexation of land is just the final step. Before that comes many little crushings of thoughts and dreams and a tyranny of pure ideology. They shape perceptions to maintain control.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Yes,
He says and sniffs loudly. I have some personal questions for you.
Nothing too interesting there,
he says and sniffs.
I see no reason why you would want to investigate an old halfling with nothing good to grant the world.
You seem interesting enough.
Kind of you, but you are wrong. My work is the only thing that is interesting, I assure you.
Fine. Keep your secrets, old man. That's all for now. Thank you, citizen. Holy shit. That was a lot. Hi. You want to talk to the people? It's over. We're free. Fine. Fuck your secrets. Go to hell, old man. The future is now. Okay. Yeah, let's, I'm gonna head over back to Viskin. Because we need to go to the lower city, and we needed to talk to him about something, but I don't remember what it was. I just remember that we had to talk to him. Oh, do I have a thing to internalize? Or do I... Oh, no, I have a new quest, which is finding that book. wrong. No, wait, yeah. This is the right one. Fiskin's up here. This is Fiskin. Thiskin.
Yes,
He says with a smile, putting away some of the documents before him. Oh, right. Ulzi's had a riddle, and we had to give him a contract from the Free Striders. Here's a thing from the Free Striders.
Oh,
He lifts it slightly, reading the text.
an economic accord. How quaint.
I have to help them out to help Agent Vera.
I know very well about the free way of business in the East. I have no interest dealing with these methods unless I am forced to in the event of a governmental shift, which, considering you have been instructed in handing these out, is most likely exactly what is going to happen. Thus, I will indeed most likely sign this in the end.
You don't sound too happy about that.
Does he ever sound happy? It is the way of things. I much prefer to the rule of Earth. This so-called meritocratic capitalistic society of reeds is based on foul bureaucracy, nothing else. I will manage it well, but in principle, I will stew in resentment.
Yeah, same. Give him a fist bump. He meets your fist in the air, then places the paper on his desk among many other documents.
Is that all?
I heard you solved Ulziz's riddle.
You are better at investigations than I imagined, cleric. Yes, I completed one of her riddles.
What was your riddle?
It was a test, if anything, about fire, life, and death. That is all I can say.
Oh, are you bound by some oath?
No, cleric. I am simply being courteous.
To Ulziz? He nods.
To the Sphinx.
So you know Ulziz, then?
She is aware of me. We do not fraternize, but I do not enjoy angering her.
Can you help me solve my riddle?
No. What I can say is that Sphinx enjoys wine and company. She only wants to see what you are capable of, not your intellectual prowess.
What? He stares at you blankly.
She wants to test your esoteric might, most likely due to your natural existence.
My existence?
Yes. Figure out what her riddle asks you to perform, then perform it through magic. Should not be too difficult for you.
It shall be solved. Right, that's all I wanted to ask about that.
Okay.
Thank you, bye. The one creature that wants to get to know you is the creature that would eat you if you answer the riddle wrong. Yeah. All right. It's time to go down. This is where we met Moongore, if I remember right. I'm gonna get down to where I was when Moongore told me to go talk to Sageleaf. Because we went down first and we couldn't really do anything down here.
The wall here. It is a door.
Oh? Well, I mean, obviously I'm going to poke this first. You detect something unusual about the section of wall.
Specifically, the ornate skull. This is a doorway.
What's up? Point at the wall. He squints at it.
Oh yeah, it's just a passage to the crypt.
You know about all the secret doors down here? Just this one.
It's right by the roots. It changes every month or so if we don't keep watch. Gotta make sure it stays closed. Ever since you clerics stopped doing delves periodically, the undead issue has gotten a bit, messy.
Yeah, we have really fucked up with that policy of non-delving.
I get the reason behind it. Gotta focus on the upstairs, but it's risky to leave defending the underbelly to third parties, I'd say. Even if we're doing a fucking great job, all things considered. Anyway, if you want to check inside, you could probably hit that tile there.
Run your hand along the surface. Your gloved fingers trace the stone. Smooth, cold, ordinary.
A tile, distinct from the others.
Press the tile. You push. A soft click. The wall shudders, then slides open. Revealing a dark passage beyond.
Sweet. I'll keep my sling ready.
Oh yeah, dude. But that brings us to time, I'm afraid. We spent the whole fucking thing talking to one man. Admittedly, it was very fun. So, I hope you all had a good time listening to that insane fucking halfling. Yeah. We're going to be finding out what's down this corridor next week. Wednesday, Thursday, same time. We talked to one man for 2 hours. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your... Oh, no, I'm glad he was insane. Insane people are much more fun to yell as. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your Thursday evening, and I will see you all hopefully next week. Have a lovely day. Goodbye, everybody. Hey, if you stuck around to the end of the video, I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed. If you want to help support me in making more of this, you can follow me on Twitch, where I stream these live. Like, comment, and subscribe. I suspect you all know how this works by now, but it really does help a lot. Thanks.